Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about creating things and how not necessarily will everything that you create be of high quality. Sometimes you will make something that completely and utterly blows, and that's okay. In fact, it's good. It's good that sometimes you make something that doesn't work out because it shows you where you went wrong and how you might be able to go right in the future. Now, let's roll things back a little bit and think about your favorite artist, your favorite content creator, or your favorite musician, or whatever it might be, okay? Now, I'm sure when they were first starting out that their music or their films or their material felt a little bit different. It felt like they were still evolving and they were still finding their footing, they were still finding their voice. And at some point along the vague timeline of their career, they found their voice, or they found what they do well, and they stuck with it and they started doing more of that. And you start to notice them come into their own as time goes on. That's one aspect of this, is that you need to make stuff that sucks because you need to know what your voice is. You need to make something that isn't your voice so that you can feel like, okay, that's not who I am, let's try something else. Sometimes that's the case. I mean, I've started so many YouTube channels where I've tried various things and I felt like it wasn't my voice, and I've given them up, and then I've tried something else, and then this is just another experiment in the bag of experiments where I try and find my voice. And I think with this one, I seem to have found my voice, and I'm going to keep doing them. But not necessarily will every one of these videos be of super high quality. Not all of them are my best. Some of them are kind of crap. Some of them aren't all that. Some of them I'm rambling. Some of them I'm completely incoherent. But I think that's okay, because what's more important is the fact that you are able to remain in the flow state and you are able to keep making things no matter what. And I think the fact that you try and make as much as possible, because I'm a big advocate for the idea of quantity over quality instead of quality over quantity, which is the traditional way of seeing things. I think that you should make as much stuff as possible and maybe accept that some of it won't necessarily be good. Sometimes it's not going to be as good as others, okay? Think about it like this. If you play guitar or you play an instrument or whatever, you might be able to relate to this. Do you ever have those days where you can just shred and you're just amazing, right? And then you have other days where you go and you just find yourself unable to do the things you were doing the other day. Even though you clearly are capable of doing them, now you just can't for some reason. Well, it's the same kind of thing with regards to, if you take that upper level, your favorite musicians, your favorite bands or whatever, they all feel the same way. They all have days where they feel more on top of their instrument than others. And sometimes, like for instance, if you see a band that maybe live stream every single one of their live shows, you can see the ebbs and flows and the peaks and valleys of their ability. Well, you see the days where they're not as good. You see the days where they're super brilliant. And obviously, like they're practicing like trained, professional musicians, so they know what they're doing and they're not going to put on a bad show. But sometimes there's that magic that just enhances everything and makes them so much more capable than they normally are. And that's, I guess, inspiration. And you don't necessarily need it for everything, because I think the more important thing than, trying to hit all those peaks, all of those spikes, is to increase your baseline for what is good. If you make something that is, say, a 3 out of 10, and you keep making stuff that's 3 out of 10, you make 3 out of 10 films, right, every single time, they keep getting rated 3 out of 10. You will continue to do this and you'll get better at doing it, and eventually you'll start making 4 out of 10 films, and then slowly you'll start making 5 out of 10 films. You'll probably never get to 10 out of 10, but maybe you'll be able to settle on 6. So you'll have gone from below average to above average, which I think would be better than to putting all your eggs into a couple different baskets where you try and make a few 8 out of 10s when you're at a 3 out of 10 ability, if that kind of makes sense. Sometimes you're going to make things that aren't good. Sometimes you're going to make things that are crap or uninteresting or incoherent or nonsense, pretentious. And that's part of who you are. That's part of the human expression. That's part of what we're all trying to do as creators, I suppose, is we're trying to find our own voices. And the only way you're going to find your voice is to speak. So you might as well just keep talking and see where it takes you, because generally, if you try things, you're going to go down a good route in life, and you're going to open up opportunities. If you take everything that comes your way, then you'll find yourself being gifted these better opportunities and these better opportunities as time goes on, rather than if you closed yourself off and tried to perfect a couple little things and then relied just on those things. Because it's all well and good to create your magnum opus, And sometimes you do need to take some time away to really craft something and put your time and effort into it. But sometimes it's more important to just keep making stuff and to just see where it takes you and see where the feeling of today drives you. Say you're a musician, why not just make a song every day? It's not that hard to make a song. How long is a song? 3 minutes? How many tracks is on this song? 5? Well, and how long does it take you to go from one track to the other and do a little like tapping the record button? Maybe a minute, so 4 minutes each times 5, what's that, 20 minutes? Okay, then a bit of mixing, you could probably get the song done in an hour, okay? Do that every single day. The 30th song is probably going to be a hell of a lot better than the first one. And if you do that again the next month, the 60th song will be better than the 30th, and so on and so forth. And eventually you'll stagnate, and eventually there'll be little point in continuing to do things in that way, and you'll need to try another approach. And that's where you can really focus your efforts onto making a single, super cohesive, super intricate, and super polished piece of work. And that's okay. It's okay to work in different ways, because we all have our own workflows and our own ways of looking at the world and so on and so forth. But I think it should be universal is self-acceptance and understanding of yourself, and that you're not always going to make the best thing, you're not always going to make your magnum opus, and just because you made something brilliant yesterday doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make something brilliant today. And that's okay, because you might make something brilliant in a couple of days or a week, and that's fine, because the way I see it is we're all trying, and sometimes those attempts will pay off, sometimes they won't. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. And it's up to you to just keep trying to make things work. And eventually they will, probably. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I think it's been a fairly short one, but quite an important one, I think. I think this is a really important message to actually get across, that you're not always going to make great quality content, you're not always going to make great quality things, you're not always going to be at the best of your ability. Sometimes you'll flounder and you'll fuck things up, and that's fine. It's okay to be like that. Love yourself, and I love you all. You're all brilliant. And yeah, leave your comments in the thing below about this topic in general. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. You see how wet my arse is? It stinks of sulphur here. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the idea of maturity and how maturity isn't necessarily a linear straight line. It's not like you start off at 15 and you're like at maturity 0, and you get to 16 and you're like maturity level 1, and then 17 maturity level 2, and so on. It's not like you're just continually getting more mature at a consistent rate. Sometimes you will actually demature as time goes on. Say if something sort of bad happens to you, and your immediate sort of response is to kind of go down in a sort of bad way, and as a result you end up a little bit less mature as a result. And then you might learn from those lessons from those bad times and then get back to good times, and then that's you rematuring. So you kind of and remature as a fairly ebb and flow kind of thing throughout the course of life. You know, there's times when, you know, I was sort of 22 and I sort of felt like internally I was about 50, and there's times when I was like 25 and I felt like I was internally sort of 17 or 18. So there's no right answer to any of these sort of things. There's no right way of doing the game of life. There's no correct answer to all of this. You know, some of my favorite people of like the generation above me, before me, spent their 30s just having the time of their lives, acting like total teenagers, and they loved it, and that was the best time of their lives, in their 30s. And some people, they enter their 30s and they start to have a couple kids, and they become like the standard sort of parent in their 30s, and that's, all of these answers are totally fine. There's no wrong way of going about life, and anyone who tries to tell you that there is a correct way of doing life and it is like this, they're just wrong, because they don't know you, they don't know the things that are going on inside your brain, inside your heart, and inside your general body. They don't know your development, they don't know your past, and they certainly don't know your future, even though they might try to tell you that they want to give you an idea of like what your future should be. It's like, you ever have people that try and like constantly give you advice, and it's just like, can you just shut up? Like, I get it, I get that I'm not at the place I want to be right now, but
I'm content with myself. So why are you trying to come at me and sort of try and make me feel bad for the place that I'm in now? Because maturity isn't a linear thing. Sometimes you will get more mature at a very fast pace, and then sometimes that fast pace will just completely reverse and you'll end up getting less mature, and you'll start hanging out and doing more sort of things that you did when you were a teenager, and you'll start tapping back into your sort of childish sort of version of yourself. And that's all fine, because it's the part of being a holistic human being, essentially. If we were all just continually trying to improve at every single stage and always trying to get better, it's like, say with capitalism, it's like infinite growth is not sustainable. In the terms of a free market economic sort of way, in the same kind of way, from a personal development point of view, infinite maturity is not possible. You cannot just continually grow, because sometimes something bad will happen to you that will make you need to stop and take stock and think about what's going on. And sometimes so many good things will happen. You'll be invited to parties all over the place. So you start going into like interrailing in Europe at the age of 38, and you just start like acting like you're sort of 21 again. All of these kind of things will happen, and that's fine. It's good to do this even. It's good to not constantly pressure yourself to mature at a fast pace, to try and complete the game of life, because it's not a game that needs an ending. It's not a, you know, linear story sort of driven thing. It's less like the Call of Duty campaign and more the Call of Duty multiplayer mode, where you level up and stuff and you get more powerful as time goes on, but there's no real ultimate goal. There's no end credits. So I suppose like death is probably the end credits. I suppose death is probably like after the end credits, and then when you're in the hospice, that's kind of the end credits sort of rolling there. But you wouldn't want to skip those rolling end credits, because it would probably be all the people that have made an impact on your life. So I don't know where that metaphor's going, but basically the point that I am trying to make is that sometimes you might feel like you're going backwards, but you're not. You aren't going backwards, because there's this thing that I remember finding out about. I can't remember what it's called, so I'm going to butcher what this is. So basically, in terms of development of a skill, it's about development of a skill, like learning an instrument or getting better at a hobby and stuff like that. So you think you're getting better, and you do. You get a little bit better sort of like that, right? And the times where you feel like you're stagnating, it kind of goes like that. But in reality, your skills are actually going a bit more like that. And at a certain point, you will start to feel more confident in yourself again once you have gotten to that point where you are now happy with your level of skill. And then it will start to go a little bit slower again, and then eventually you will become discontented with the level of progress that you've made, and then you will start progressing more, but in a subconscious kind of way, in a way that you don't even recognize yourself until it hits you all in one go, and you'll go, oh, fuck, I'm actually all right. You ever stop and think, fucking hell, I'm an okay human being? That's the goal of this. It's just to be content with yourself, no matter what your maturity level is. As long as you're nice to other people, and as long as you aren't a selfish, say, narcissistic kind of person, then I don't think it necessarily matters what your maturity level is, as long as it's not getting in the way of yourself and of other people. You know, you don't want to be putting people out. I'm not talking about like a low level of maturity, like constantly borrowing money off people and that kind of thing. I'm talking more from a brain sort of space. Like, you know, sometimes it's nice to go back to your old childhood cartoons and watch them again and feel like you're a little kid. Sometimes it's nice to do that, and sometimes it's nice to play your childhood video games. Sometimes it's nice to look at your old toys and just have a bit of a poof, you know, with the, you know, your old toy cars and stuff like that. Because why should you have to put these things aside because you have hit this certain level of maturity, which means you are better than that, you know? Oh yes, I am an adult now, and adults don't do this, children do this. It's like, no, human beings, that's what we all are, child or adult. Because realistically, I mean, there is the idea of childhood and adulthood is kind of a societal construction, quite a necessary one, obviously, but when it comes to you, yourself, and your place within the world, I feel like you kind of transcend that, especially if you're of the age where you're sort of 17, 18, 19, 20, where you're at that midpoint between what you would be considered, when you'd be considered a child and when you would be considered an adult. When you first start to be considered an adult, it's quite an overwhelming sort of thing. And so as you kind of go forward through life and you get more and more mature as time goes on, right? as the bell curve slowly goes up and you start to get dissatisfied with yourself and you start to improve, and then you get satisfied with yourself and you start to stagnate, and then you start to improve again, and so on and so forth. And then sometimes you might just completely drop down and start to have a wild time when you're like 40. You know, it doesn't matter, because it's your life, you're free to do with it as you will, and who the hell is anyone else to tell you what to do, right? Because it's your life, it's your personality, it's your being, your soul. You know, as long as you're treating it with some level of respect, as long as you respect yourself and you're happy with yourself, then it doesn't matter what level of maturity you are, really. Apologies for that. So, yeah, to wrap this kind of up, I don't think that maturity is a linear thing. I think that maturity is a mindset that you kind of put on yourself. Sometimes you might feel like you're older than your own age, sometimes you might feel younger than your own age, but it all rounds out, everything rounds itself out, and everything works at the end of the day. Are you still going from day to day fairly decently? Then if you are, just keep doing what you're doing, because you're obviously doing something right. And if that's not the case, then take a look at what's not working, see what you could do instead, work towards trying to do that. You know, say if you've got, like, I don't know, you're drinking too much, or you're playing too many video games, or some certain things that are interfering with your real life. You know, you can obviously work towards trying to sort those things out and trying to cut back on certain things. But that's not the same as a mental maturity. It's not like, you know, you turn 25 and then you sort of decide, right, I am an adult now, I don't do childish things. Or you turn 40 and it's like, right, I am 40 years old, time to start becoming a geography teacher or something like that. You know, it's totally fine to be yourself no matter what your maturity level is, and that's part of life. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this one. Love you all, you're all brilliant, and I hope you all take something away from this video, that you can feel yourself no matter what. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Bye. I've still got a cold. I really shouldn't be wearing just this. Like, I should probably have like 3 jackets on. But when you get into the flow of these sort of things, you don't actually feel the cold. Like, I could probably do this just like, you know, just with the t-shirt. Wouldn't even need that, really. Yeah. This is the bit where like the 2 little things on either side, 2 little videos are. So click this one if you want some videos on a certain topic. Click this one if you want some videos on another topic. And click right over my face is now appearing a subscribe button. Bye. Ooh, that was a fun one. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about my VGA. It's not actually a VGA cable, it's a DVD cable. So I went to turn my computer on this morning after having been using it regularly the night before with no issues. I went to turn it on this morning, and I think this might be the issue, because the monitor works, the PC works, but the 2 together do not. And that can be quite frustrating, to be honest, because I do have a backlog now for once. I actually have a backlog of videos, and I can't use it. I can't use my own backlog because it's all on the computer, half edited, and I can't access the computer without the monitor. I can use the laptop, however, that would mean that I would have to re-edit all the videos from scratch. It would also mean that I would have to make proxy files out of them, which is just, it'd be faster to just make new videos at that point. So that's what I'm doing now, making some new videos. Little bit of a pain, if I've got to be honest. But you know, you do come into your hardships, you come into your troubled times, and that's kind of part of it. That's kind of part of the beauty of doing this kind of thing. And just doing it so consistently every day is you see the peaks and valleys, you see when I've got more resources, you see when I've got less. I did do a video about that exact topic when my tripod head broke, which is why a lot of the shots now have been taking place from quite low angles, because I'm just placing the thing on the floor and using the lens cap to sort of prop the camera up slightly so it tilts upwards a little bit. So that kind of works for that. So don't let resources get in the way. You know, I just do everything into a phone, and that's a brilliant way of doing it. I think the sound sounds pretty good on these. It's not, you know, it's not like podcast quality or anything. I'm not trying to say that, but I think they're pretty decent.
for 50 quid a pop, they are pretty good. And you know what? I broke one. I was sitting down and I had it on, and it was sort of, I unplugged it from here and it was dangling down here, and I trod on it as I stood up, and that kind of fucked with it. So little bit annoying that. Wasn't too keen. But you know what? That's kind of the sort of thing that happens. You're going to get hardships, you're going to get hard times, not just with regards to equipment and so on, but with regards to your life in general. You know, say you go through a death in the family halfway through making your big movie or whatever, you know, you've got to deal with that. You can't just use making the film as some form of just escapism, because then you're not making it for any healthy reason. You're not doing it to express yourself. You're doing it to hide yourself from pain and anguish. And the whole point of making film isn't necessarily to showcase pain and anguish, but it is to sort of help alleviate it a little bit, to try and get that real part of your soul out there that you feel like isn't out there at the moment. But you get inspiration from other things. You're like, that feels close to my voice, but I want to get all the way there. That's why I want to actually do something. That's why I've got the drive to actually create something of worth. And that's nice. It's nice to be able to create things. It's really lovely to keep just doing these videos, and I enjoy seeing the little peaks and valleys. You can see when I've got like something good going on. You can see when I'm in a bit of a down sort of day. You can see, you know, when I've got more resources. You can see when I had a lot of time, because I had the time to put the suit on and go to more like exotic locations and that kind of thing, rather than this fucking car park. You know, like I'm sat in a Sainsbury's car park right now, and that's why I keep looking over my shoulder, because I feel like any moment a security guard's going to come walking up to me and ask me to leave politely, which of course I will. But you know, it's fun doing these videos. I really enjoy doing them. And yeah, I just wanted to give a little update, because VGA, it's not a VGA cable, it's a DVI-D cable. These are apparently not the common thing anymore. These are apparently not what you use nowadays. Apparently now it's all HDMI, but for some reason my computer's 10 years old. I really do need to get a new one at some point, which I'm not going to do, because it does work. When it's plugged in. When it's plugged in, it actually works, but when it's not, it's a load of crap. And probably swinging this around like this isn't helping, but you know, look, watch. Look, you see how this, you might not be able to see because the shot's quite far away, but this one doesn't have anything there, so it's fucked. And it's been like this for like 4 years, so I'm kind of amazed that it went on this long. But come on, could you not have done this before I started the YouTube channel? Could you not have done this when I, you know, wasn't uploading 2 videos a day? Something like that, when I would have had time to sort these things out. I've been walking up and down the Broadway just trying to find a DVI-D cable. I've been into every single computer shop. I went into Cash Converters. He pulled out a VGA cable, and I was like, oh, cool, how much was it? How much is it? And he said, no, I'm not selling it. I'm just going to give it to you. I'm like, that's really nice of you. I don't need it, because it's useless to me. I've already got VGA cables. Apparently VGA cables are even older than these fucking things. And I don't see why they need to keep making new things. What was wrong with this, right? It's got little screw-in things. Obviously one fell off, so, you know, I get that. But like HDMI, what's so special about HDMI? Is it just the HD part of the MI? HD, I don't know what that means. But I don't know, input, obviously, I suppose. But I don't know. It can be a little bit frustrating dealing with these little technical hurdles, but you know, that's kind of part of it. That's kind of the point of making stuff so frequently. You know, like, I like seeing bands that make lots of music, and you know when a band will do that thing where they'll release kind of 2 albums quite close together. One is the one that they spent all the time on and perfecting and polishing. That's the one that they went to the studio for. And the other one they might record in like while they're on tour in hotel rooms and stuff. Gorillaz is a perfect example of this. Plastic Beach was the proper album. What is that fucking noise? Plastic Beach was the proper album, and then you had The Fool, which was the one that they just kind of recorded in little hotel rooms and stuff. And I quite like The Fool. I mean, it's not as good as Plastic Beach, but I mean, it's hard to beat Plastic Beach, to be honest. It's got some good songs on it that obviously now I've been put on the spot. I can't remember fucking any of them. I remember Empire Ants, that's good. Yeah, stuff like that. In general though, yeah, that's the kind of thing, is that you see the same creative process, but with more or less resources. And you can create just as good a product, if not a better one, with the limitations that are actually being used. So yeah, I hope that this has been of some kind of use, seeing the flaws and the issues with this bastard in cable. Like, imagine doing skipping rope with that. It'd be terrible. So not going to do that. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Trying to stop it swinging so it doesn't whack me in the back of the head. Right, cheers. See ya. Most casual video ever, that.
What do you believe the differences are between big studio productions and indie sort of film productions?
What are the differences between big film sets and the small ones? Can you narrow down the question a little bit, because there's so many facets to that?
Well, I would say in terms of how much sort of creative freedom you get to express yourself, do you find that you get more of that on a smaller film set rather than a larger one?
Having been both someone who runs like my own sets, has worked as like camera, sound runner, actor on other people's small sets, comparing that to being like a camera assistant or grunt runner, COVID marshal, whatever, you do definitely get more creativity. But at the same time, I think it kind of comes down to, you know, you've got this level of creativity. Like if you're not running your own set, but you are on a small film set, you do have a decent amount of creative freedom, because you can literally just say to the director, oh, hey, I've got this idea. And then they can kind of be like, oh, cool, or nah. If you try and do that on a big film set and you're just a grunt, you are not getting back on that film set. So, but then at the same time, people don't go on big film sets to be a grunt, to have creative freedom. I think people know not to do that. It is just a job to them. I think that's why I dislike the big film sets, because they are just this sort of, you can go past if you want, yeah. It all fits in with the theme. Have a good day, yeah? No worries, take care. So you got, I feel like that was a mess of an answer, to be honest.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
All right, did I actually answer the question in that? I think I did.
I think you did.
Basically, yes. Basically, yes.
I'm going to crop that to just basically yes. Right, so in one of your videos, or maybe even in multiple videos, you talk about how you appreciate quantity over quality.
Yeah.
I guess not just in filming, but in general things in life. And how would you say that you're implementing that into the film that you're making now? Are you just shooting absolutely everything that you can?
Yes. Yes and no. Closer to yes. I don't know, in terms of the quantity over quality thing, I feel like a hypocrite by preaching something that I don't practice. Like, I talk about it a lot because it's an ideal that I want to get to. And I think that is the best way to make stuff. But it's not the way I feel like I'm currently making stuff, it's the way I feel like I'm trying to make stuff by doing the 2 videos a day and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, when it comes to like the creative works, like I've just made an album, right? I've spent a year doing this album. That's ridiculous. It's only 7 songs. What's that, like a month and a half or more for each song? You know, like probably closer to 2 months. So, you know, and then I've done films where like they've spent 4 years in post and stuff, and all this kind of stuff forced me to reconcile with the quantity over quality thing, because it is correct. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so with your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
do you see that sort of as an extension of the film? Because obviously it's called like Jonny Mozza, Lessons in Confidence, or is it a completely sort of separate project that you'll carry on with after the film is made as well?
That's a very good question, that one. You can keep that bit in for the edit. That way the teacher sort of goes, oh, he said that was a very good question, that. And you can keep that bit in so you can make it all meta. But yeah, I think in terms of that, it is separate. Well, do you know what it was originally meant to be? I was never meant to be doing 2 videos a day about all this inspirational stuff, right? Originally it was just gonna be like vlogs for the film. So I did the first couple that were literally just like me talking about the film in various ways. And then I did one on Central London, and that kind of went well. And I realized people like the ones where I do these like really pretentious, like indie filmmaker, bloody, you know, titles. Like, filmmaking isn't a business, it's an art. It's like, oh, shut up. But they like it. So I just made more of them, and I'll keep making more as long as people want them, because I like seeing the little, like, oh, you've really inspired me kind of things, and you know, knowing that I'm actually helping people out is really cool. It's nice, it's satisfying. I like being able to give something back. It's fun.
Nice. And is that sort of the same thing that you want people to take from the film itself? Is that the message that you want to bring with the film, all of those sort of positive things? Because I know that your character, Jonny, is kind of a... I think he described him as he's sort of like, not a liar, but he's sort of worming his way into things that he's not necessarily qualified for. And is the overall message of the film meant to be, I guess, about just trying things anyway? Like, is that the message?
Not really with that one.
Wrong way?
He does. I think actually it's kind of almost the opposite message, because he does try, but he fails. And that is the thing with trying, is you are going to fail sometimes. And I hope with these videos I'm not misleading people into thinking that you can just like go your way through life just, I'm trying not to swear, but doing stuff like that, and just you'll succeed every time. You won't. Like, I got lucky, you know, and other people get lucky, you know. It's just being picked by the YouTube algorithm. So I don't know. Jonny Mozza, his whole thing is about the romanticization of the past, and how you need to be able to come to accept the world that you live in now, and come to peace with that. Because, you know, like, yeah, sure, if you sit and listen to Led Zeppelin and the Doors and the Sex Pistols all day, you are going to be like, ooh, the 70s was so much better, I live in the worst time, you know, and you'll get yourself down about it and you'll shut out the modern world. But, you know, look at all the great things that are going on now in terms of like the music scene, and like some of the best music's coming out now. Some amazing films are coming out. A24 like is a really cool picture house. You've got so many, like the folk filmmaking community, and you've got so many cool things that are happening now. And then loads of stuff that I don't care about, that other people care about. So you've got so much stuff going on that, you know, that's what Jonny Mozza is kind of about. It's about embracing the present and being satisfied with your lot, essentially.
Nice. So I was interested in the sort of music aspect, because obviously Jonny is a musician, you're a musician, you're playing the songs that came from the movie. And did the music sort of come first and then the filmmaking, or do they sort of go hand in hand with each other?
Well, I haven't written any music for the movie. I'm writing music just for like myself. I'm writing music about stuff that I care about, and then I just think, because I don't want Jonny Mozza to be someone who can't play. I don't want the joke to be that he's talentless at playing, because I think that would be kind of dull. I think what would be more interesting if he is good, but he wants everyone to know it, kind of thing. Because like, I think I've come to accept I'm all right at guitar, you know, but it's at the same time, if you do go around and are just like, yeah, I'm the best, you know, look at me, all that kind of thing, then people are going to hate you anyway, compared to someone like Oliver in the film, who is, he can't really play the bass, but he's a really nice person, so he ends up coming out on top. Despite having less technical talent, it's his niceness and likability that is what's holding him up and make people want to stick around him.
I like that. I enjoy that message. The next question I was going to ask you, and let me know if you find this very, very dull, but what is your favourite movie?
Before Sunrise.
Before Sunrise, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, Richard Linklater. Do you know Dazed and Confused, Slacker, or anything? Like, Slacker's a really good film. But yeah, Before Sunrise, it's... Shut up. It won't actually get those anyway, really. I mean, I've done videos where I shout at the planes anyway. But why Before Sunrise is one of the best movies ever made. First off, the Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke have such beautiful chemistry together. Their story is so romantic and so nice. And the best scene of it, in my opinion, it's a really dull-looking shot. It's literally just the corner of this really unset designed room. They go into a record shop and they go into the listening booth and they put on this thing. And like they're sat there, pretend like, you know, a woman is sat here, right? And we've got a bit of chemistry, but we haven't sort of said anything yet, you know? So it's kind of like a bit of this. And then she looks over. And then, you know, she looks over and I kind of look back. And then she looks over
and you kind of look away again. And one of my favorite scenes, in just one long prolonged shot that goes on for like a minute and a half, no dialogue, no nothing, just as the music plays in the background. It's so sweet, it's so nice. It's a film I've watched probably about 10 times, and it makes me cry every single time. It's just so nice. And then Before Sunset is just as good as well. And Before Midnight is a really good film, but it's so depressing because I see them as just such a beautiful couple. It's so nice, like, you know. And I'm not like a mega like romance film kind of guy, but that one, yeah, it's good.
Nice.
It's good.
The next question I was going to ask you about then is...
It's relatable as well.
What, the movie?
No, Before Sunrise, yeah. Because it's all about the conversational aspect. Like, it's not about like, you know, long prolonged scenes of them like, it's all just like talking and just like getting to know each other as friends. Because that's what love is, really. It's being able to talk to someone for like 9 hours with no awkward breaks in the conversation or no nothing, and just feeling like you're completely in sync with one another. You know, it's not about like, you know, the lovey-dovey sort of stuff. That's like the cherry on top. That's the icing on the cake. But you know, you can't just eat icing because you'll get sick.
Do you like realism in films then, in terms of, do you want things to be like how they are in the real world? If you're saying
yes
like,
and no.
you like that conversational thing because that's how it actually is.
Yes and no. It does depend, because like, you know, some films can be good for like escapism, and like, you know, I like some sitcoms. Like Fawlty Towers isn't particularly realistic, you know, or like you know, Red Dwarf, not particularly realistic. But then I think where the realism is good is in the little personal struggles that go on. That's what attaches you to things. Like people like Wally, for instance, because they can feel a sense of humanity within him, even though he doesn't talk, and even though none of that is real in any sort of way, you know. But it also does have the message about this is what the future could possibly hold for us if we, you know, don't take good enough care of the planet. So as long as the film can make you feel connected to the world in some capacity, I think that it is good. I think that's why most fantasy films tend to try and hark to some sort of culture on planet Earth, you know, like Lord of the Rings is trying to take from like old Norse mythology and stuff like that, or Star Wars is trying to take, I don't know, I don't like Star Wars particularly, but like, yeah, I'd say it's important to me. I like films of realism, and I think everything that I like in particular has realism in it, but I wouldn't say it's necessary for like everyone. Some people might feel differently and might want, you know, escapism because they don't want to have the real world chucked back at them, because they're already like, oh Jesus Christ, you know, I've got like my mortgage to pay, I'm behind on that, and like, you know, the bank's coming to take the house away, and like I'm gonna get fired, my wife's gonna leave me. It's like, you know, they maybe don't want to be reminded of that in a film, you know.
That's fair enough. What sort of advice would you give to someone who wants to make a film?
So let's say this person has no real resources. Let's go like bare minimum, right? Yeah. So Wakaliwood in Uganda, right? Like little village in Africa. Presume he's not making mad money, you know? Proper little village and all that. And the way that he did it, he had a little laptop and he had a little tiny digicam, like probably worse than what your phone is capable of doing, right? And he just went around and he would film like action scenes and have fun with like all of his community, you know? And he would make these really insane films. And he turned that into what was fun about it. Like Who Killed Captain Alex, for instance, is so much fun because it's so balls to the wall, and it's also so cheap. That film cost, I don't know how much it cost, but it's definitely not more than like a couple £100. And you know, you don't need mad budget to do stuff. And so what I would say to someone who wants to make a film is just like, stop worrying about it. Just make one that's like, who cares if it's bad, right? I'd rather you go out and make a bad film than to make no films, because imagine if everyone who made a bad film didn't bother to make a film. We would have barely anything, man. You know, like, and sometimes it's nice to watch a bad film. It's nice to laugh at it. I mean, that's why people like The Room, people like Slop, like Transformers and all that sort of stuff. Those are all bad films. They're bad in all different ways. You need bad films, you need bad entertainment so you can have the good stuff. If everything was good, then you wouldn't have the point of comparison, you know? So yeah, just make something that's, oh, shut up. Just make something that sucks. And, you know, let all the little imperfections like that
get into the film, because that's fun at the end of the day. You can go through it if you want.
Don't worry about it.
No,
That's okay.
You have a good day, yeah? Do you want to maybe shift to another spot?
Yeah.
I feel like we've got quite a bit here.
How did you, Josh, first get into filmmaking?
Well, I was going to do game design at college with my friend, because my friend was going to do it. And then I started looking into the industry, and I saw all the crunch time and all the abuse that goes on in that industry, and I thought, no, I might not do that. So I walked into the media room and signed up for that, just because I thought, need something to do. And went in, and I didn't really care about it, to be honest, while I was first doing it at college. It was kind of after college when I started making my own stuff. I started off doing this really terrible YouTube channel, and then a slightly less terrible YouTube channel came afterwards, and then films came afterwards that started terribly and got better and better and better. And I kind of liked the whole bringing everyone together for a certain cause kind of thing, and just like, I don't know, like, it's fun to, you find yourself in weird situations, like the time when I found myself lying on top of a wardrobe in someone's house, just like holding a boom mic, or, you know, standing on like in a Sainsbury's car park filming a guy that's like, ooh, doing a bit of rapping and all that sort of stuff, and you're all like moving around, and like people walk past you and they wonder what they're doing. So it's, I don't know, it's cool, yeah. Yeah, it's nice just creating stuff. I've always created stuff. I used to write books and like send them to the library and like get them to keep them in the library.
What, like your local library?
Yeah, I used to write books about, I had this one book about this couple of friends that went into space, and they were kidnapped by aliens and they needed to escape the solar system. And because my interpretation of the solar system was, you know, like the solar system planets thing where it's like Mercury, Venus, blah, blah,
like
blah.
you do when you're a kid.
Yeah, and they're all like right next to each other. So Jupiter's quite big, right? And I was like, oh, the spaceship's gonna have to really struggle to squeeze past Jupiter. So that's a whole plot point in that book. The book's gone, by the way, I'm never gonna find it again. And then just wrote dozens and dozens of books, made a world, that was cool. It was kind of like a sci-fi sort of, we colonized the entire solar system, and then we started colonizing this other planet, but that other planet had like loads of like various life forms on it that were all fighting one another. It was basically just Mass Effect, like it was a rip-off of Mass Effect basically, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah. What would you say inspires you then? If anything.
People, I'd say. Met someone pretty cool recently who has inspired me quite a lot. So started writing a song, and like when you're inspired, like it all just comes out, and so that person has caused that inspiration, and that's someone I really like. It also goes the other way, where sometimes you make a film. This is going to make me sound really like a nasty person, but sometimes you make a film almost in spite of someone, to be like, ha, see, I can do it. Yeah, you know, like my old the guy who begged me to go on the HND course, which what a total con that was. Asterisk, not my legal opinion. But yeah, he kept begging me to go on it, and everything I heard about it is it was just terrible. And he was one of those that, like, you know when you can't trust someone because they smell too nice? Like they smell like godly all the time.
It's
and you're
suspicious.
like, yeah. Like obviously I don't want someone to reek, but like that was weird. And yeah, I didn't really trust him, so I had a big fight with him while I was talking about how he was ripping off his students. And then, yeah, I basically made my first film to say, you don't need any of what you're doing to make a film. Stop with all the nonsense that you're doing and just try this. And, you know, that's how I sort of make some films. You do something to almost spite someone, or not to spite someone, to sort of prove yourself a little bit, I'd say. You know, you're not an individual in a world full of mechanoids. You're one person in a sea of millions. So all you can do is just try and voice stuff, really, and get your own voice out there. That's it.
Nice. How many people are working on the film?
I'm gonna try and figure that out. Hang on.
Is there loads?
Hadid, Shivani, Oleg, Neve, Kimberly, John Henry, Lee Westwick, Toby, Oscar. There's more. This is why I didn't want to do the naming thing, but I've started now. There's more, there's more, there's more. Come on, think of them. Come on. Oh yeah, there's a couple editors. There's, Shivani. How did I forget Shivani? Lydia. There's more.
Sorry, I have put you on the spot.
I'm struggling to name them all. There's a fair few. There's a fair
That
few.
is a lot of people.
But I think what's important to note with this is that I am emphasizing small crews. So I'm doing crews of like 3, 4, 5 people max. So while there might be a lot of people on the film, it's different people each day. So I'm working that way because you get so much more done. You can move so much more effectively if you do smaller days with less people, because it's just so much more efficient compared to if you have a group that's so large that it can splinter off into its own subgroups. That's when I feel like you're going wrong, personally. Obviously you have to do it sometimes when you've got a big scene, but yeah.
Do you feel that sort of having those small groups and having groups change every now and again, does that sort of help you creatively? Like, because obviously I imagine you're getting all of these different ideas from people, and can that alter the film? Like, are you taking everyone's
definitely
contributions?
Like, my mate Toby, he's come up with some crazy good ideas that like he came up with this one idea that I'm not going to tell you because it's coming in later in the film, and I'm also not sure if I'm going to do it yet. But like, yeah, loads of people are bringing in their own ideas, and the reason that I made sure that this was such a simple film plot-wise was so that there was room to hang all the creative ideas on. I want people to come on this because I'm not paying people, you know? So what better way of, like, well, not really what better way of paying people than to let them be creative, but, you know, I don't know, just, I want people to feel like they're giving something more than just, like, grunt work, you know? I hate the idea that people just turn up, feel like they've got no input, and then just bugger off again, you know? I don't know, I feel like that wasn't a great answer. Let me try it again. So you kind of just say, like, what was the question?
So the question was about, because you have these small crews working with you and sometimes they change around, if it's helpful because you're getting all of these different ideas, if people can contribute, and if that will therefore maybe change, you know, the film itself in some ways.
Yes, I would say, like, I really, well, some of the scenes are completely improvised for a start, and I work around the improv, and I fit improv into the script sort of thing. Like, here is some space where improv can go, and then you've got the beginning and the end, or you've got like a certain beat, like at a certain point in this improv, someone is going to get a phone call, and that kind of ends the improv and goes back into the script sort of bit, you know? Hey up.
Hello.
Come on, come here.
Hello.
So yeah, that's a piece of improv right there. But yeah, I want people to feel like they're able to engage with the film whilst they're working on it. I want people to come up with crazy shot ideas. I love when Oleg in particular, he's always coming up with some mad ideas. Every time we're about to wrap up, he's like, oh, sorry, I've just got one more idea. And he'll do that like 4 or 5 times. And I love it, because it's so, you know, it shows passion, it shows that he cares, and it shows that he's interested in what he's doing, which to me is a really positive trait. And I've seen that from many people working on this film and films in the past. I want people to feel like they've got something to add, you know? So I make sure that there's room for that. I don't go in with a complete vision. I go in with what I feel like I want, and then know that the world is going to change it. You know, if you're about to go on a big night out and you have an idea of what it's going to be like, and then you go on the night out and you're really excited for it, and it turns out to be nothing like what you thought, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you leave the place you met earlier than you thought, or maybe the night went longer than it thought, or you met someone, or whatever, you know? Things don't go according to plan, so I don't establish plans, I establish just general bits, I suppose.
Nice.
Just make it up as you go along, really.
So you don't feel like, obviously this is your project, but you don't feel like I guess sometimes when you hear about film directors or different types of artists, they have a real personal relationship with the work, and therefore...
Well, don't get me wrong, I will shut down an idea if it runs contrary to what the film is trying to do. Like, you know, I'm not just like, you know, someone chucks in an idea that's contrary to what the film is trying to achieve. I won't take that on board. But, you know, I'll still hear it out, obviously.
But yeah, you know, it's in terms of some directors, I feel like, I don't know, I really like the films of Kubrick, but I don't know, you look at some of the stuff that went on those sets, and I just think, look, The Shining, Clockwork Orange, it was really good, but was it worth that, you know, upset for the people that were working on it? I don't know.
I would
really
argue
like
not.
Clockwork Orange, it's one of my favourite films, but I don't know. You know, it's like, I suppose in a way, you know, do we all want oil somehow? You know, but we all use it. We all like our phones and our cups of tea in the morning and our radiators being on. But at the same time, we all recognise that it's kind of, there's some bad stuff going on there. So, yeah.
I'm going to do a 180. What is your favourite genre of film, if you have one?
I'd cheat the question and just say sitcoms.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite sitcom?
I'm Alan Partridge. Or Faulty Towers. One of those two. Kind of switches. And then like obviously The Simpsons as well. So I'd say those three. Malcolm in the Middle's good as well.
Oh, I loved Malcolm in the Middle growing up. Loved that
it's
movie.
just like I like the light feeling. I don't particularly like the super heavy thing. I'm watching films that are really heavy and about super serious stuff, and it's like, ooh, this is depressing, and or you go the other way and you get really artsy stuff. Like I watched 2046, Wonka Wai, and I was kind of bored stiffless the entire way through it, if I've got to be honest. Like, I liked a couple bits, but I don't know, that kind of thing isn't for me. I like having fun, okay? I like having fun with films, so that's where I kind of go. It's not that I don't like, you know, the odd, like, serious film, you know, like Underground. Well, actually, no, Underground's kind of a comedy as well, in a way. It tackles very serious themes. It's a Yugoslavian film, by the way, about World War II and, like, these people that are stuck in a bunker and, like, they get told that World War II is still going on for, like, ages. That's really good. But then Time of the Gypsies as well, that's really, really amazing. And those are really sad films. I don't know. I'm going to try and answer that in a more succinct way.
Okay.
I like movies that are simple. I like movies where you know how far you are in the film based on the plot. So say you've got a film where you start in room 1 and you've got to get to room 100, for a very basic example. Like The Platform, for instance. When they're at like level minus 250, you know you're near the end, you know? It's that kind of thing. Or like if you've got a horror film, when there's only 2 people left, you know you're near the end. I don't like films where you can't tell how far you are into it by what's going on. For someone who makes films, I don't watch very many.
Really?
Not really. I rewatch a lot of sitcoms and yeah, stuff like that. I've seen all the Alan Partridge, all The Office, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know much kino. Let's say kino therapy. What? That's cancer.
Did you say kino or chemo?
I said chemotherapy, and then my brain went, no, that's not anything whatsoever.
I'm going to ask you, this might sound controversial.
Hell yeah, I like it.
Well, it might not be, actually. Do you think there is a certain level of sort of like pretentiousness in indie art films or in small crew films? Because of this sort of idealised thing of like, we're doing something that's real art, you know?
Yeah, you get that. I've not experienced it in droves. I have experienced it, but I do think it's overblown. I think, although that being said, someone's probably watching this and thinking, oh God, what a hypocrite. But you know, it's like, there are certainly people out there that like take it so seriously and they make it their whole life, and like, you know, they act like they're saving the film industry or whatever, and it's like, no, you're not. Just make your product and bugger off, okay? And let people enjoy it. That's it, all right? You know, I think when people get into the whole art thing of it, it's like, shut up. I don't care, really. Like, it's either, is it fun? Is it interesting? Do people like it? Or do they think it's boring and not worth your time? That's it. The same as any other product. People look at a restaurant, do you want to go there? Nah, it doesn't look that good. Same with a film. You're making a product.
Yeah.
or doing a service. So yeah, people do get pretentious about it, but I do think it's an overstated issue, and I think that overstatedness is a stereotype that comes from within the Hollywood-esque, Hollywood in quotes, to say basically, you know, I'm going to call it the bourgeoisie of filmmaking, to use a very pretentious term for it. Yeah, it kind of comes from within there. The same sort of way that, you know, like, there's stereotypes about conspiracy theorists that I feel like come from within, like, you know, because it's from the outside criticizing this thing, so you want to try and make their point look stupid and make people look past what they're saying and just judge them on appearances. You know, like, we've all heard of the indie artist who has like the turtleneck like this and has those like round sunglasses and has a picture and has like their profile picture in black and white of them with a camera like this. So we've got all that. And yeah, I'd like them all to stop, please, and stop posting your bloody like black and white bloody images on Instagram going whoosh. It's annoying. I feel like this video is going to be a bit longer than a minute and a half.
I think it might be. Hold on, how do I
If you want, we can do like a couple like literally 5-10 second answer type things if you need it to be a minute and a half.
Yeah, okay. Can I get a quick shot of you holding a camera?
Hell yeah.
Hi, honey.
Hey, yo, doggy.
Hello.
Are you dog of the
Hi.
day? That's the question.
I think it just might be dog of the
Yeah,
day.
close. The other one was a bit better. There was that giant black one that wasn't on camera.
Yeah.
That was dog of the day, I'd say.
I was with a dog on the train today.
Yeah.
But it was one of those like service dogs that you're not allowed to stroke, but
Yeah.
it feels really tempting.
I know what you mean.
So that was a struggle. Do you want to hold your camera or do you want to hold this camera?
Let me just put all this crap in here. Oh, God. I hope there's some use out of these.